You ever notice that when you watch Amen Thompson play, that there are shades of a hunting figure from Queens, New York? You ever notice that sometimes when he's applying 94 feet pressure up and down the court, that it reminds you of Ron the Legend? You ever notice in times where the game is getting intense and the rest of the team is trying to neutralize that energy, there are just flashes in Amen Thompson of meta world peace. Today we're going to talk about the doppelganger of Ron Artest and who I think is Amen Thompson, and why the league should be afraid, very afraid. I can't be the only one that noticed the stark and stunning resemblance between Amen Thompson's game and Ron Artest's game. Like, even before I got the idea to make this video, when I was studying Amen Thompson for the Overtime Elite and watching his game tape, in the back of my mind, there was a gnawing voice that was saying, I've seen this before. And one day, right before the draft, it hit me. I said, yo, Amen Thompson is Ron Artest, and Ron Artest is the earlier version of Amen Thompson. If you've been loving all of the content, the NBA content you've been getting here in the Lit House, do me a favor right now before we get too far into this video. Hit the like button, the subscribe button, and turn on your notification. And also, please, think about becoming a channel member, because when the NBA season starts, we'll be covering all 82 games for all teams in the NBA. So make sure y'all hit the like button, subscribe, and become a channel member today. We'll be giving away perks, PS5s, and all kind of things when the season starts. But you're gonna have to become eligible by becoming a channel member. Make sure y'all run the likes up, share the video, like the video, and subscribe to the channel. Back to the video today. Look, man, every now and then, the NBA produces outliers. To me, in my estimation currently, Amen Thompson is one of those outliers. A guy that is very athletic. A guy that is, a two-way player the moment he comes into the league. Not necessarily graded out pre-draft as a star, but there are things about him and the way that he attacks the game that makes you say, could be. That was Ron Artest some 20 years ago. Ron Artest was a guy that came out of Queens, New York, hard-nosed street basketball player that was a legend in Queens, New York. He went on to St. John's and made his mark on the college level. He became most notarized for the Malice in the Palace and an unfortunate event that night in Detroit, Michigan. But overall, Ron Artest, during this time and during his prime, if he could have stayed focused, would have been one of the faces of the league. Later on in his career, we all know that he went to LA and won a championship with Kobe Bryant. Because as Kobe, the late great Kobe Bean Bryant said, he was the piece that got the Lakers over the hump. When I look at this reconstructed Houston Rockets team right now, trading Jalen Green, trailing Dillon Brooks, bringing in a guy like Dorian Finney-Smith from the Lakers, a 3-and-D guy, re-upping Jabari Smith, and of course bringing in Kevin Durant. To me, this looks like a team that is not only ready to compete seriously in the West, but might be on championship timing. When you bring a guy like Amen Thompson's veracity and ferociousness and attention to detail, competing 94 feet defense mentality on a team like that is currently in Houston, I think him and guys like Ron Artest, albeit they may never be the absolute pinnacle of superstardom in the NBA. To me, they definitely are pieces that push you far over the hump and are core pieces that build dynasty. When you look at their game, the similarities jump out to you as soon as you watch it. Now, even though there are a lot of similarities, I want to talk a little bit first about the differences. Amen Thompson, athletic. Ron Artest, he was a marginal athlete. Amen Thompson, his three-point shot leaves a lot to be desired. Ron Artest was a pretty decent shooter, even though the form was unorthodox. There are some differences when it comes to their game. Amen Thompson, a little bit on the skinny side, leaner, that linear type of 3-and-D player. Ron Artest, a raging bull in the paint and on the perimeter. I'm not saying it's a perfect fit or a perfect match when it comes to this seeing double comparison that I keep seeing with Ron Artest and Amen Thompson. But to really understand what I'm talking about today, you would have to be a student of the NBA, a student of the game, and just a lover of the culture of basketball. When you really watch these two side by side, the first thing that jumps out to you is the level of intensity that they play with on both ends of the floor. All throughout their highlight reel, Amen Thompson in his early career here in Houston and Ron Artest throughout his career. They were known for being great on-ball defenders. But what I want to focus on today is not on-ball defense. What really stands out to me about Amen Thompson and Ron Artest when we make this comparison is their ability to help side, their ability to chase down blocks. Even though neither of these guys are 7-footers, and they're not known necessarily for their shot blocking prowess, all throughout Ron Artest's career, there are countless numbers of times where he's coming off his man, going backside, and blocking the shot of a guy that's driving or a big that doesn't see him coming. If you've been watching Amen Thompson at all for his first, now about to be third year in Houston, you will see several clips and several highlights that show him chasing down blocks, getting off the stick of being an on-ball defender on the weak side and coming front side, or vice versa. These are the kind of things that people describe in today's game as winning basketball. Back in the day, that just meant you were a hard-nosed player. You were a guy that your presence on the court instilled fear in the opposing team's best player. And that's exactly who Ron Artest was. Now, even though Amen Thompson is the one that currently reminds me of Ron Artest, there have been a few guys that kind of have those similarities as well. When Kawhi Leonard was with the San Antonio Spurs, he was not known for being an offensive juggernaut in his early years. He was a guy that you put in the game to throw on Kevin Durant or LeBron James and make night a living hell for them. Eventually, with development and hard work and dedication from Kawhi Leonard, he eventually became one of the best, if not at one time, the best two-way player in all of basketball. I think at one point in Ronnie's career, AKA Meta World Peace, he could have been that type of guy. When you look at the year that the Pacers really had a chance, per Reggie Miller and Mark Jackson, to actually go to the finals, the year that they ran into the Malice in the Palace, Ron Artest was the face of that team. He was the heartbeat, and I want to say, if he wasn't the leading scorer, it was between him and Jermaine O'Neal. If it wasn't for that series of unfortunate events in the Malice in the Palace, then I think unquestionably that the Indiana Pacers might have found themselves in the finals facing off against the Los Angeles Lakers. That's just the line estimation. But that brings me to another point when looking at this model of player. The similarities don't stop with weak side defense and their ability to help off ball and clean up and make the margins that much smaller for the team offensively with the basketball. One of the things that really stands out to me when I see double with these two players is the temperament and the way that they play the game. They remind me of the type of guys that you would love to have on your team, but you would hate to play against. Both of them's tempers seem to be a little bit unhinged at times. As already mentioned, the Malice in the Palace with Ron Artest, which is an unforgettable moment in basketball. Amen Thompson has produced in his short career a couple of moments that were similar. Not to the magnitude of the fallout that it had with the NBA and Commissioner David Stern at the time, but just their ability to, through their emotions, go over the top and change the way the game is being reffed and the game is being played. How could we forget this year when Amen Thompson was facing the Miami Heat and him and Tyler Hero had that scuffle? You telling me that didn't remind you of Ron Artest and the way he could go from being zoned in on defense in the middle of a Donnybrook? And when I watch Amen Thompson, even though most people would look at that as a negative, I call that the Ron Artest gene. Because yes, in the short term, it may help hurt your team. Might give up some technical free throws. You might get thrown out of the game. But if you know how to harness that energy and he knows how to reel that in at times, that becomes what I like to call a fierce enforcer that has to be taken serious by the opposing team. That makes stars in the league second guess anytime they come to the paint. Anytime that guy subs in, like the classical final series between the Miami Heat and the San Antonio Spurs, when LeBron James is at the free throw line and he looks over his shoulder and he sees Kawhi Leonard coming in, and we all remember that moment. That's the kind of impact a guy like Amen Thompson can have in this league. And that's the kind of blueprint that Ron Artest set and laid for that prototype. I do think at times that his energy or lack of control can be a source of weakness, but he's still a young player. So overall, him having this element to his game will always keep offenses and even defenses at times guessing. I think not only is this a comparison for what could be historically, I think that Amen Thompson can actually be better than Ron Artest. As for mentioned earlier in the video, Ron Artest had physical limitations. And even though his shot, to me, when he came in the league, was a little bit better than Amen Thompson from the outside, it was nothing that ever got consistently better on a year-in and year-out basis. As hard as Amen Thompson and Oscar Thompson work out together in the offseason and they're constantly polishing up their game, I would expect in the next 2 to 3 years, Amen Thompson to be a decent enough spot-up shooter where he's no longer a liability as he is sometimes on the perimeter. I also think because of his athleticism and him being a better athlete than Ron Artest, I think in this fast-paced, spread, wide-open league, Amen Thompson is gonna end up eventually, if they choose to use him that way, being a better overall scorer than Ron Artest. I think that just overall, the physical gifts and attributes that Amen Thompson has as far as his basketball game, I wouldn't say light years ahead of Ron Artest because that would be disrespectful. But it is obvious a gap between the talent overall between these two players. Now look, seeing double is cool. Making comparisons are cool. It's the off season. And if you like this content, once again, please share it, like, and subscribe and turn on the notification and become a channel member and get ready for the NBA season. Making these comparisons are all well and good. But in order for Amen Thompson to reach that Ron Artest potential and pass it up, he's gonna have to find his role on the court. Too many times last year, I would see him look lost. There were some games where his fingerprints could have been on that game. and he could have made a bigger impact. But because sometimes offensively he looks out of place, I think he struggles to know what his role is on the offensive side of the ball. That job is for Emi Udoka to sit down with him and let him know where he projects as a player and what they need for him this upcoming season and going forward in the future if he wants to be his best self. It's up to him. Ron Artest, to me, at one point in time, had the ability to lead one of the most forgotten but most respected franchises in the league, in the Indiana Pacers, to an NBA championship, with him being the main guy. Because of mental problems and things that he was dealing with, he never reached that potential. With KD coming in with the Houston Rockets, it makes them a legitimate threat to hoist the Larry O'Brien this year. But with the guy as young as Amen Thompson being a part of that team, KD is not a spring chicken, as I said in my video, The Last Dance, 2 weeks ago. He's on his way out of the door. Winning a championship or having continuous playoff experience this young in his career and hard work and a blueprint like Ron Artest, in my humble estimation, can set Amen Thompson on a Kawhi Leonard-like trajectory. It's all up to him. And it's up to the organization, the Houston Rockets, to develop him in the right way. But y'all let me know what y'all think down there in the comment section below. Am I tripping when I see double with this comparison? Or do you see exactly what I see, which is Amen Thompson is Ron Artest, and Ron Artest is Amen Thompson? Make sure y'all run the likes up, share the video, like the video, subscribe to the channel. You're in the house of the mighty.